is to always make sure that you're doing what you love, what makes you alive. Do what you're passionate about. Because it's as if you're not working a single second in your
Mm.
life.
Hello, everyone. This is Charles Ladia, and welcome to Speaking Of, where we talk about stories of being and becoming. And speaking of, this episode talks about passion in writing, travel, food, and books. So, and how do we turn these hobbies into stories that people can relate with? Our guest for today is known to friends and familiars as the ultimate racket queen. Malalaman nyo yan mamaya kung bakit siya ang ultimate racket queen. She works as a professional writer and editor at a government agency while moonlighting as a lifestyle writer, a teacher, and a social media manager. Her essays and articles have been published by leading media companies like ABS-CBN News, the Philippine Star Life, GMA News Online Lifestyle, Spot.ph, and local travel magazines. Please welcome to Speaking Of, Miss Johanna Mariflor Añes. Hi, Ate Mo.
Hi, Charles. Hello, everyone. It's really
Yes.
great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ate Mo. You know, Ate Mo, ever since I've known you, I know and I feel your passion for traveling, for writing, for
Mhm.
food, and for books. How and when did you realize that you are passionate about all of these things?
It goes all the way back to when I was still a little girl. Siguro unahin natin yung my love for reading and for books. I'm your typical kid who grew up in the 90s. Ito yung mga laging may brownout. So thank you talaga sa pagba-brown out. Kasi wala. I mean, how will I entertain myself, di ba? I mean, for a little girl, tas brown out, I get, just get so
Yes.
bored for how many hours? Minsan the whole night yan, morning na magkakaroon. So, I found solace. I found company, good company in books. So, kaya talagang at a very young age, I was already a very voracious reader and eater. But sabi totoo yun, mahilig na talaga ako kumain. But dahil sa brownout na yan, nagkaroon ako ng love for reading, which hanggang ngayon, I still,
Yes.
love, I still find so much joy in reading. Alam nyo, yung writing naman, it also is influenced by my love for reading. I think all writers naman, would say the same thing. Because these two are very intertwined, di ba? For you to be a good writer, you have to read a lot, di ba? Because you won't have the tools that you would need for writing to be a good writer if you don't read. I still remember kasi ngayon naiinggit na ako sa mga kabataan ngayon because they have a really huge selection of young adult literature. Nung bata pa ako, it's mostly Nancy Drew. My
Mm-mm.
age is showing. Nancy Drew, Hardy Boys, ano pa, mga Enid Blyton, and of course, yung girls my age during the 90s were really into Sweet Valley. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
heard
I
of
remember Sweet Valley.
Sweet Valley, Sweet Dreams, ganyan. But yun, matagal pala. But I mean, at a very young age, I've already at least discovered my love for reading and for writing. So, yung eating, bata pa rin ako eh. Yung nagsisimula pa lang sa Banawi, yung mga eat all you can. Talagang
Yeah.
mahilig na talaga ako mag-eat all you can. Bata pa rin ako. And likewise, for traveling also, I guess maybe because my mom loved to travel and she would take me to places. So I
Yes.
guess all of these four things that you mentioned, I've discovered my love for these things at a very young age. So,
Tapos ate, in the past decade, parang paunti-unti na din that you're writing about your travels, right? Paunti-unti sa mga travel magazines. I've seen some of your works sa travel
yeah.
magazines. what was your journey like in discovering that you love writing as a hobby and you can now incorporate, 'di ba, yung food, yung travel, yung books into parang persuasive articles that people can also try what you're trying?
To be honest, this was not in the plan. I've always thought that I would be teaching full time for the rest of my professional
Mm-mm.
career. And, that doesn't mean that I don't like to teach anymore. I still teach and I still love
Yes.
teaching. And I cannot imagine myself not teaching anymore. But siguro dito papasok yung everything happens for a reason. Because after my stint at the department, wala talaga sa plan ko. Alam mo kung bakit? You know why? I always
Why?
wanted to write, but I never thought that I was good enough. I
Mm.
was scared. Kasi
Laging
when,
may ganun, 'no? I
yeah,
think, Ate Mok, the activities that we love doing so much, doon din yung activities that we don't like other people to judge us based on these activities. Laging may takot kapag we're very passionate about these things, 'no?
siguro kasi masakit pag,
Mm.
if some people don't like it because it's so close
Yes.
to your heart. Like for me, um, to be honest, no, yung una ko kasi it was the GMA News Online. And my editor is brilliant. My editor, at least during my first stint as a professional writer for for lifestyle, was with the GMA News. So, and my editor was really this very brilliant, writer and editor. Yung unang article, parang, although, inedit kasi siya. So,
Yes.
parang, I cannot get over it before eh. Na parang, oh my God. Oo nga, no, mas mapapaganda pa siya. May konting shame, may konting, my God, nakakaya naman na sobrang na-edit yung ano ko. Maybe because yun nga, like what you said, these are things, like writing for me, for example, is something that I really, hold dearly in my heart. So, minsan parang akala ko ang ganda-ganda na hindi mo wala. So, but, I guess that's why I appreciate the fact that you
Mm.
invited me to this podcast is not because I'm not an expert on writing, no. And I guess since your audience mostly will be students, I think sana they could learn something from me as a
Yes.
writer, as somebody who's still new in the industry. I started 2019 and still finding my way, trying to navigate my way around. And I hope that they could learn something from my journey.
I think this will be a good inspiration nga for our students and for those who are listening, right? That sometimes you just have to jump and the process will really shape you, 'di ba? Hanggang ngayon, 2 years now that you
Oh,
are writing, ate, what are the learnings that you've had in the last 2 years as a professional writer?
it was not a very easy start. Kasi wala naman akong kilala at all.
Mm.
Siguro may kilala ako. Siguro we can trace my writing professionally to my days as publicist for Dula ang UP, which was 2011 to 2015. That
Mm.
was 4 years. Pero hindi kasi talaga ako, in as much as I recognize um, the many things that my being a publicist for Dula ang UP taught me, hindi kasi talaga ako pang theater. So, may mga kilala ako, of course, kasi may mga kinokontak ako
Yes.
from the media, like si Sir Gibbs Cadiz, Sir Walter Ang of PBI. Pero wala talaga akong kilala. Hindi ko alam kung paano magsisimula. Isa pa yon, bukod dun sa fear na natatakot ako na baka I'm not good enough, was also the fear of the unknown na hindi ko talaga alam
Yes.
at all. How do I start? And so what I did was, kasi wala talagang kilala na pwede kong as in lapitan talaga. So I approached yung mga kakilala ko from Dula Amity days. I asked Sir Walter, I think it was Sir Walter Ang or Sir Gibbs, pareho yata sila. So I asked them, paano po ba? How do I really want to write? So how do I do it? And I think both of them said the same thing, that I should submit, I should pitch.
Mm.
I should pitch articles. So, which is what I did. You know what I did? My first byline was for a magazine. It was for a travel magazine. And sadly, it was the first and last byline that my mom read. So I was first published in a travel magazine. Mega publishing ito, a travel now.
Mm.
So I recall, natatawa tuloy ako. Alam mo yung kinapalan ko lang talaga yung mukha ko. Kaya guys, kapalan nyo lang yung mukha nyo. Wala
Yes.
namang mawawala.
Doon naman talaga mag-start ang lahat ng ito.
Yeah,
Diba? So, paano mo kinapalan ng mukha mo, ate mo?
hinanap ko dun sa magazine because I love reading that magazine. So, hinanap ko yung email address.
Mm.
So, nag-email ako. Nag-pitch ako ng 5 articles. And I
Okay.
had no expectations. Parang, hindi na mag-reply to. Pero, malay mo, di ba? Alam niyo, after a few days, I received an email approving, I think, 2 of the angles. So, nagulat ako. May deadline na ako.
Wow.
So, yun, na-publish ako after 2
Writer
months.
ka na.
May byline na
Okay,
ako.
okay. I'm sure from that moment, ate mo, hindi rin naman madali yung naging process mo hanggang ngayon, di ba? Ngayon ba, mas naging madali na siya since marami na rin mga news agencies and even online platforms that get you as a lifestyle writer? Was it easier this time?
Like what I said, 2019, after my last sem teaching Form 3, it was not easy. Kasi I could chase my first byline 2015 eh. So 2015 yung first byline ko. Ang tagal, di ba? Ang tagal pa bago
Yes.
like 2019. Kasi hindi ko rin talaga alam paano ko ba ipagpapatuloy. So I would write on my blog occasionally, ganyan. And still, I think I had that nagging feeling that I wasn't good enough. Na-publish na ako nun parang hindi pa rin. Ewan ko ha. So,
Mm-mm.
yun nga. So 2019, kinapalan ko na naman yung mukha ako. So, I think it was a former student. I asked her. Her name's, I think I could name drop. She's the brilliant Angelica Yang. She was a Gawad Chancellor,
Mm.
natatanging mag-aaral awardee. And she's now a journalist. So proud of her. I asked her, wait, Angel, di ba you write for GMA News? Parang, how do I get published? And she said, ma'am, try to email the editor. Ganyan. I emailed the editor. I emailed as usual. I pitched. So if you want to be published, think of possible topics. Ito ipipitch nyo, yung mga
Okay.
angles na yun. So I pitched ulit. I think I pitched about 5 topics. Nag-reply. I also, doon, nag-attach na ako na-publish ko na the articles.
Yes.
The reply was, am I free to join the Greenpeace, this Greenpeace boat to Cebu?
Yes.
And of course, I said yes. Of course, I said yes.
Hindi ka lang tinanggap. Pinadala ka pang Cebu.
So, di natuloy. Sabi ko, kakainis. A few days later, I was assigned to cover this media familiarization tour in El Nido, Palawan. So that was my first. My first as a lifestyle
Travel.
writer. Yeah, lumayas ako. So, nagpunta ako ng El Nido. So, that was my first. And relating this to your question, dito papasok kung siguro isa pang tip ko. Bukod sa kapalan niyo yung mukha ninyo. Second is to really establish contacts and take good care of these contacts. Yung network kayo, okay? I recall
Yes.
na, oh my gosh, alam niyo ba nung, I cannot forget my trip to El Nido, that assignment for GMA News. Kasi ako lang yung bago at my age. Parang nangangapa pa ako. Parang hindi ako sanay. Okay, ganito pala yung dapat gawin. But that was a very, very meaningful, memorable, and fruitful trip. Kasi yung naging contact ko sa SPOT.ph, doon ko na-meet. And yung editor ko sa Philippine Star ngayon, ay katabi ko sa aeroplano. So, you see how,
Yes.
forging, networks, taking good care, and of course, getting the job done. And
Yes.
getting it not just done, but you're able to do it good enough, or, would really help you go a long way in the
Yes.
industry. So, ngayon, it's easier. It's much easier kasi before.
Okay.
So, there, because of these contacts.
Yes. So, very important pala na yung dalawang tinuro mo, ate mo, no? Yung go for it, right? Mahiya, wag kang matakot. That's very important. And second is to take care of the networks and to take care of these relationships. So now, Ate,
Yes.
I want to talk about the stories that you are creating for the audience. Kasi the platforms that you are published and even the magazines that you are published, technically you're talking to a kind of audience. 'Di ba? And nowadays, lalo kapag online, sobrang diverse ng audience na meron
Mm-mm.
tayo. So, in your process of conveying these stories, how aware are you of the kind of audience that you are talking to? Kapag ba nagsusulat ka, iniisip mo, ito yung audience that I'm talking to. That's why this is the type of writing that I'm doing.
Um, yes. And the audience and how I frame my stories also is dependent on the story itself.
Mm-mm.
So, I'm just really lucky, Charles, na I get to write for media companies who actually um give me so much freedom to use my
Mm-mm.
voice as a writer. Kasi I recall writing for this company, medyo malaking company din, na I had to stop writing for that company because hindi ko na siya voice. At
Mm.
hirap na hirap ako pag hindi ko boses, pag hindi ko style. I have so much respect for that company and for the writers that I work with for that company, but it just wasn't for me. And kasi, the more you write, the more you're able to find your voice, the more you're able to find what your style is and what works for you, what doesn't. I'm here and I'm just so thankful to be here and so grateful that I'm able to write for these platforms which actually reached a really broad audience.
Yes.
Minsan nga, dinadalaw ko yung, kasi sinishare din nila minsan sa Facebook, ganyan. Yung mga
Yes.
articles ako na, ang dami, thousands yung shares, ganyan. Natutuwa naman ako na, 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 na ganun siya. When it comes to shaping the story, sometimes I get a little help from my editors. How?
Mm-mm.
Minsan nagbibilin sila na Mok, dapat ganito yung angle. Mok,
Mm-mm.
dapat ganito. So, but overall, I guess I'm just so lucky to be working for these companies who let me use my own voice. That's why
Right.
what you see, what you actually read, um, halos ako na yun. Konting-konting edits na lang siya. So, I'm so happy that every time I read my articles that are published online, I could hear myself actually
Yes.
saying those words. So, yun. Siguro, maybe for the students who are wondering, how do you shape um, your stories to make them appealing to your audience? Yun nga, you would get a little editorial help then. But at the same time, for example, ako, I read previously published stories in the platforms that I write para alam mo rin yung branding,
Mm-mm.
alam mo din yung voice, tas babagayan mo rin yun
Yes.
using your own voice. So it's really a combination of those, um, techniques or styles. So
Yes,
there.
yes. I like that you answered the importance of authenticity. 'Di ba lalo na
Yeah.
ngayon
Mm-mm.
because what you're writing would be travel stories, food
Mm-mm.
stories, book suggestions, 'di ba? And I
Yeah.
like how you pointed out that authenticity is very important because that for me, that is one of the many things that online audiences are looking out for. 'Di ba? Sino ba dito
Yeah.
yung writer that we can relate with? Right? Not just with a
Mm-mm.
budget, kasi very important yan, but also with the experiences that you are sharing with the audience. When you're doing travel writing, how do you make sure that these stories can relate to the audience? Na kapag po sila naman yung pumunta, 'di ba, sa Bohol or sa kahit saan man sila pumunta, they would like to experience the same experience that you had.
Dyan napasok yung research. You also do research. Kasi I know that there are some iba-iba kasing klaseng travelers out there. But as a writer, I also have this responsibility to make sure, you know,
Yes.
that at least the places that I would be writing about would be places that my readers would enjoy. And yun nga, like what I said, I'm just really lucky that I get to try all of these things. I don't just how do you call this? Read other articles that have been published and then try to. No, I actually have experienced, you know,
Yes.
I've gone dolphin watching. I've seen Mount Fuji, ganyan. So, I'm just really like, kasi iba eh, iba. Iba pag na-experience na nung writer. Kasi you're just trying to put together pieces from other already published materials to come up with to come up with a listicle or an article. So, I guess yun nga, I'm lucky that I'm able to write about the things that I've already experienced. But of course, I have to also do research. That's why before
Yes.
I travel, I really read, not just read guides. I also
Mm.
read books that are set in that particular, in that
Mm.
particular place, for example, just for me to get the feel of um, the atmosphere, the vibe of that particular city or
Yes.
province. So, yun. Yeah.
So do research on your audience and also do research on the places that you will travel. So even for our students
Mm-hmm.
right now, right, when you're writing your own speeches or your own stories, it's very important to know the audience and also
Yeah.
know the place or the topic that you want to talk about. Pagdating naman sa food
Mm-hmm.
and sa books, ate, 'di ba? How do
Mm-hmm.
you persuade? Kasi it's all about persuading these people to try this food
Yeah.
or read this book, right? How do you
Mm-hmm.
persuade the audience to try these experiences?
Um, Similar to travel also, aside from doing research, it's also siguro how I write. As lifestyle writers, as creative nonfiction writers, I guess, one of the things that we have to keep in mind is to make sure that how we write is, the words that we use are very sensory. It has really
Mm-mm.
to appeal to the different senses, diba? It's
Yes.
as if you are bringing with you or making your audience experience what you're experiencing, tasting what you're tasting vicariously through your words. So dito na rin papasok yung how I actually write. So I try to be as descriptive as I can be. Pero ito ha, sorry, this is something that I learned as as I'm actually again trying to find my way into this world, that when you say descriptive writing, hindi ko descriptive dapat heavy on the adjectives or on the
Mm-mm.
adverbs. No, actually, you try to use words that show action. Actually, more on nouns and verbs na dapat yan eh. Kasi pagka
Mm-mm.
puro adjective siya and adverbs, actually the writing feels heavy. So, you try to use words that evoke a sense of the place or a sense of the food that you're eating. And you show this through words that appeal to the sense, but not necessarily heavy on the adjectives and the adverbs. I think
Okay.
that's a common pitfall among um, new writers na masyadong
Yeah.
heavy on the, oh, this island is so magnificent. It's no, it's, you don't really have to pile up on the adjectives. No need. Ang advice ko sa akin is to really focus on movement,
Mm.
make use of, um, more on verbs actually, more
Yes.
on, on nouns. Instead of
Yes.
saying that, oh, the river is, it's flowing, it's huge. Ganyan. You can just say that the river meanders ever so slowly. Diba? So, that's how it should be done.
Right. Ang gandang realization nun 'no, lalo na for even not just for articles but even for speeches, 'di ba? Kasi some students tend to, use words that people sometimes do not understand. So, the vividness of language
Yeah.
is very important. At ngayon ko lang din narinig yung tip na yun, na dapat more on action words. And I think that also goes to
Yeah.
show ate the kind of audience. 'Di ba kasi sa online platform sobrang daming information, sobrang daming article. So I think that's a good tip na focus on the movements, focus on the actions and on the
Yeah.
gestures of your words para talagang capture mo na ang readers agad-agad.
Dito na papasok yung show, not tell. You show your
Mm.
audience, you bring them with you, diba?
Mm.
Into your journey. You don't just show it, sorry, you don't just tell it to them by describing, diba? You bring them with you. So also another tip, if if you have students who would like to write one day siguro, is to compare your work. What do I mean by that? Compare your edited work to the one that you submitted. Ako in so many ways, my editors don't actively mentor me, but they mentor me by editing my work.
Mm-mm.
So um I recall sa GMA, ang sipag-sipag talaga na editor ko. Galing-galing niya. Talagang doon ako natuto talaga. Kasi kino-compare ko side by side. Kahit cringe na ako na, oo nga, dapat ganito pala. But you learn, you know. You
Yes.
learn through your um, through the weaknesses of your writing style. You learn through your mistakes. So, at least ngayon siguro naman hindi ko na masyadong pinahihirapan yung mga editors
Okay.
ko.
So, ang ganda ring tignan yung balance between your personal taste and how well do you think the audience will enjoy reading the article. Tapos, ang ganda rin yung sinabi mo, ate, na you need to bring them with you. Di ba? Sa pagkain man yan, sa travel man yan. And that's what a lot of new writers and even public speakers often forget. Diba? So, may tip ka doon na kailangan isama mo sila doon sa conversation or doon sa travel
Yeah.
na meron ka. Ate Mok, what is your most memorable writing task?
Dalawa. I can think of two. The one in Palawan. Kasi the one when I was assigned to this, event in El Nido.
Ito
Kasi
yung bago ka pa.
doon talaga namulat yung mata ko na parang, ganun na pala, this is how it works. This is how it should be done. Pangalawa yung Bohol.
Mm-mm.
That would always be one of my most memorable travel experiences, not just for work, no, but my God, I'm just so happy to have been assigned to that. My recent trip to Bohol was one for the books. We all know that Bohol is a beautiful province. It's rich in history. But I've learned so much about that, that that place and its people, and I've really grown to appreciate the province and the
Right.
strength of. If you've at least read my recent articles in Bohol, the one on the whaling community, the
Yes.
former whaling community, and I didn't know na what may active whaling communities na tayo sa Pilipinas. Tapos pangalawa yung, my gosh, yung renaissance ng wood carving sa
Yes.
Bohol.
I read
Habang
that.
habang pinakikinggan ko yung kwento ni Father Val, parang a-amaze ako sa resilience ng Bohola. Nakaka-inspire kasi they turned a very tragic event, that earthquake. You can't discount, of course, you can take away the fact that so many lives were lost. But kahit papaano, they were able to honor these lives that were lost by, creating these beautiful pieces of art. Ang ganda talaga. And like what I said, I'm just really very lucky to be to be assigned, these stories. Alam mo ba, Charles, ito pa, another tip ito. I guess, sorry,
Mm.
ngayon ko lang na-epiphany ako. Kasi going to Bohol, my, my, um, my section editor for SPOT, assigned to, dapat dalawa lang yun eh. Dalawang articles lang yun, and travel-based lang talaga siya. Pero, dapat, halimbawa, to the future writers out there, dapat meron din kayong, alam mo yun, parang, dapat you're always on the lookout for something that would be very interesting to write about. So, yeah. So, ang galing kasi iba-iba kami ng stories. Iba-iba. Tapos, iba-ibang angles and all very interesting. Somebody wrote about how ube is a sacred crop in Bohol. Did you know, Charles, that pag nahulog ang ube sa Bohol, kukunin sa halikan nila yan. As if an apology. Kasi for them, sacred ang ube. Kasi when the province experienced droughts and famine before, it was ube, which is a very hardy crop, which actually helped them survive. Kaya for them, talagang sacred ang ube. So, a writer from a different media company wrote about that. So, iba-iba kami. So, kung ikaw, for example, aside from that which your editor will assign you, siguro you should always be on the lookout for what's interesting, what's different. Kasi minsan pare-pareho na rin, di ba?
Yes.
Online.
Yes.
So, try to think of something different.
Being a lifestyle writer pala is in itself a learning experience, no? Bukod doon sa
Mm,
nagre-research ka na before the writing task, even the learning experience that you are gathering when you are on the field, 'di ba? Tapos sabi mo rin kanina, you have to be unique. So talagang
yeah.
open lahat ng senses mo while you are traveling or while you are eating, while you are reading something in
Mm,
order for you to share it to the people
yeah.
who will be reading your um, activities or the things that you are writing
Mm,
about. Ate, last question. How
sure.
do you balance everything? Kasi di ba you're also a mom,
Yeah,
tapos you're also a traveler, you're an avid book reader, you're an avid food eater, di ba? Parang
of
when
course.
I'm thinking about it right now, parang sa sobrang dami mong activities that you're doing, how do you balance everything that you want to do?
At alam ko na sagot ko dyan is always make sure that you're doing what you love, but what makes you alive. Do what you're passionate about. Because it's as if you're not working a single second in your
Mm.
life. And I'll be very honest. My full-time job doesn't really make me so happy. Kaya
Mm.
I'm so glad that I have all of these other jobs to keep me alive. Yun. And tama yung sinabi mo kanina, it's really a learning experience. It's, I get to discover, so many new things. Not just about the world, but also about myself na ay, kaya ko palang gawin to.
So, do what you love to do, right?
Yeah.
Explore and create networks. Very important yan. So, ate, maybe for those who are thinking, baka gusto ko rin maging lifestyle writer, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is one tip that you would like to give that person?
Okay, I actually have two.
Mm.
Um, this is not just for writing for lifestyle specifically, but maybe writing as a whole. You really have to read. There's
Mm.
no shortcut. You really have to read. And before, kasi hindi ako mahilig sa classics before. But now, I'm trying to to visit, not revisit, no, kasi hindi nga ako mahilig sa classics. So, try to visit classical works. At advice din sa akin ni Miss Jessica Zafra during our workshop na
Mm.
parang, Mok, parang you have to really try to immerse yourself in the classics. So read, but not just read. Read, read good works. Read, for example ako, kasi I really love to read, diba? But ngayon, because I really want to improve more on my travel writing, I try to immerse myself in the works of great travel writers like
Mm.
Pico Iyer, Jan Morris, Simon Winchester. So, and of course, locally, just Cristina Pantoja Hidalgo, so Jessica Zafra. So, you have to really read. And I also, this is also an advice from Jessica Zafra, when she said that you have to write every day. Write 1,000 words a
Mm.
day. And she got that from the great writer, Graham Greene. So, na sinasabi nga niya na you have to write, if you want to really improve on your writing, you have to write 1,000 words a day. So, I try to write 1,000 words, if not more, every day. So, and the second is, di ba sabi ko kanina, you have to really take good care of your contacts, your network. Pero how do you do that? Eto talaga, you have to be professional.
Mm.
You have to be disciplined. When I say discipline, you have to submit on the deadline. Hindi ka dapat, ano, lalo na if you're still new, no? Importante yun na you always submit on time, as punctually as you can.
Yes. So, read, write, and be professional. Very simple, no? Pero talagang I think sa profession na very competitive ang lahat. You really need to
Mm-mm.
be unique and to stand out, right? So
Mm-mm.
ate, etong last part ng ating podcast is, you don't know this, but we'll have a fast talk. Tapos,
Okay.
pero itong fast talk na ito ay book, food, and travel edition. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
I will
Okay.
ask you a question and then just
Mm-hmm.
tell me your recommendation. Okay,
Okay. Sure.
wala itong reasons, just recommend something. Okay, let's go first
Okay.
to the book category. Okay, mga
Okay.
libro. First, a book that you have read more than 3 times.
Ah, it's A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki and Night by Elie Wiesel. Medyo depressing yung Night, but everybody has to read that at least once in their life. So
Okay. A book for those who will just start their reading journey.
their reading journey, Harry Potter. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Also, I remember Sitin. Books by Kate DeCamillo are also good.
Mm.
Plus, The One and Only Ivan by Catherine Applegate. These are
Okay.
very good love stories.
And finally, a book where you think you learned a lot from.
Those who want to write should have a copy of this. It's Stephen King's On Writing. So it talks
Mm.
about like it has so many. It's a gold mine of advice for those who want to write. And also, andito kasi nga I was supposed to show this to someone. Ito literal na natuto ko dito. Every writer must have a copy of The Elements of Style by Strunk, White, and Coleman. This is the Bible of writers and editors. So,
Atamok. Now let's go at it to the food
yeah,
category. Okay,
sure.
food recommendation. For those who want to study about culture,
Oh, Thai food, I
Thai food.
guess. Thai
Okay.
and Indian.
After that. For those who want to
Yeah.
binge eat or cheat on their diet, ano ang worthy food to cheat on their diet?
As a huge fan of meat, I'm a carnivore. Yeah, samgyup na yan. Which I actually really
Samgyeopsal.
miss. Oo, yeah. Samgyup or I think we had churrascarias before. And also this Brazil ata yung name ng restaurant. I don't know if it's still around, but yeah.
And finally, a food that you will never forget.
Bacon. I could live on bacon.
And
Yeah, I
finally,
love
let's go
bacon.
to the travel category, right? Where
Sure.
do you go when you want to reflect about life?
I I know that a lot of people love going to the beach, but I prefer the mountains. So
Mm,
because I love trees. I don't know. They relax. They make me relaxed. So
right. So, Ate, where do you recommend that we go if we are brokenhearted?
Japan, Tokyo, because it's really sensory overload. So
Mm.
makakalimutan mo yung heartbreak mo pag nasa Tokyo. For sure.
Okay. Third is if we have a tight budget.
I would really recommend the backpacking trail of Southeast Asia,
Mm.
specifically of Indochina. That
Mm.
that area. You start off siguro Bangkok, then you go to Thailand and Cambodia, Vietnam, and it doesn't cost a lot. So yeah, that trail, that tried and tested backpacking trail
Finally, Ate, where
in
will you
Myanmar.
go after this pandemic?
Gusto ko Japan. Because I miss
Mm.
Japan. I'm not used to not seeing it for this extended period of time.
Thank you, Ate Mok, for being here with us in Speaking of. I'm sure that our listeners learned about the stories of being and becoming a lifestyle writer. So thank you for
Thank
all of
you.
you guys who listened in this podcast, and I do hope to see you in our next podcast. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Charles. Thank you.